We are here to talk about encashing the nut cook advantage. Now, everyone knows that nut cook is cheaper, but the real trick is the challenge is using it without wrecking your furnace stability. We are looking at finding from the European Union Sustain Tap initiative to move this from a best guess to a verified science. But first, we need to look at a massive pressure our modern furnaces are under. And if we go through that, then we can come across many challenges. The biggest and the topmost priority is the economic versus operational stability. So look the numbers on the left are the reality. We are pushing for 3.5 tons of hot metal and PCI rates up to 190 kilos. High production needs flawless gas flow. As we all know, we should have a ideal gas distribution. But despite of that, many goals, what is the goals? What is the main, what are the prime goals? So one of them is the swapping expensive big coke for cheaper 10 to 35 stuff. But the risk box here is the killer. If you choke the gas flow or the block the dead man with the fines, those savings vanish instantly. So let's look at the textbook reason we actually use this material. Now the coming to the theoretical logic and what is the preferential component? Gasification, as we know, which is regarding all theory, it is true. So the theory is actually pretty simple. Nutcook has a huge surface area, and we want the carbon dioxide gases to preferentially attack the small stuff. Think of nutcook as a bodyguard. It rakes the hit of the solution loss reaction so that the big premium lump cook survives to support the furnace structure. And that's the theory. But how we place it? It matters even more. This brings us to the permeability trap. So use becomes tricky. So as for the placement mechanism is concerned regarding the protecting the gas grid, here where things usually go wrong. If you mix nut coke directly into big coke, you fill the gaps, the voids, and kill your gas channels. That's the permeability trap. The shielding strategy is the win. You mix it only with the ore layer. This keeps your coke windows clean for the gas flow while putting the carbon right where the iron oxide need it. For years we assume this nut coke just vanished in the shaft, but we decided to prove it. The what is the empirical reality? The empirical reality, the European Union Tracing Initiative. So we had a black box problem. We could not see what actually happened to the nut coke. So at TKS we did something bold. We tagged the coal with a zirconium dioxide before it ever become coke. So we charged these tagged coke, then used mobile rigs to drill into the furnace at the tuyere level to find it. What we found? Well, it changed the way we think about the descent. So coming to the most important slide, which is about expected versus empirical dynamic matrix. Here is the shocker. Empirical reality column, the myth was that nut coke vanishes in the upper shaft. But the reality, it survives at all the way to tuyere. Also, look at the alkali row. We saw a tenfold increase in alkali uptake. The strategy pivot here is huge. We cannot just dump it in. We have to control where it lands because it's not disappearing. So let's look at the heat map of where what surviving coke actually goes. So what is the TKS finding? The descent survival head map, a heat map. So coming to the let's look at this spatial reality. The surviving nutcoke doesn't descend uniformly. It's heavily biased towards the walls and the peripheral raceways. It almost never penetrates the dead man. So what? So well, even with high carbon demand, it's not being fully consumed. It's basically a wall hugging material. And that's the wall hugging behavior has a massive thermal impact. So coming to the thermal and permeability impact, when you increase the nutcoke, you reduce the voidage near the wall. So this chokes the gases at the periphery and forces it to the center. So look at the temperatures. Central temperatures spike by 45 degrees while the wall drop by 40 degrees centigrade. So why should you care? Because top gas reversal can lead to massive instability if you are not ready for it. So it is not just physical, the chemistry changes too. So next, moving forward towards microstructural evolution. Okay, let's talk chemistry. Alkali like potassium act as a catalyst. They jump-start the coke's reactivity, dropping the reaction threshold from 1000 degree down to 800. This means the coke is being eaten away much higher in the furnace than cold lab tests would ever predicted. So, how do we actually encash the benefit without this risk? So that is a question. So moving forward towards encashing the benefit, if we talk about, then uh, the optimization framework we must have to look into. So we need these three pillars: preparation, placement, and proportioning. So these are the three formulas. So you need to strict 1035 sizing, you need mathematical models for placement, and you need to find the exact yield threshold so you don't starve the hearth. Placement is so critical that we use a specific model for it. Coming to the masterful placement engineering, where we engineering the gas flow. So we use Mosca model to aim the nut coke. So never change it independently. We use rotating chutes to bias the mix towards mid radius. This creates a stable M-shaped gas profile which keeps the central chimney active while protecting the wall. But there is a limit to how much you can use. So our next knowledge sharing is about proportioning, finding the maximum yield threshold. So here is the golden rule. Nutcoke rates must scale inversely with PCI rates. As you push PCI higher, you have less lump coke to support the bird nest. If you cross that red line, the dead man's collapse and drainage fails. So it's a balancing act, not a more is better situation. So let's wrap this up with the new operational mandate. So from black box to engineered system, if we talk about, then Here is the here is what to acknowledge it. Model its thermal impact, command its placement. Nutcoke is no longer an unpredictable variance. If we engineer the system, we can push substitution to the limit and really encash that economic benefit safely.